That is a deeply important and difficult question that gets to the core of the conflict's emotional and political volatility. The expectation to retrieve the bodies of deceased hostages, even amidst overwhelming rubble, is rooted in a combination of profound religious, cultural, and political imperatives in Israel. Here is a breakdown of why the return of the dead is treated with such urgency and how it impacts the peace efforts. 1. The imperatives driving Israel's demand. The emphasis on recovering the dead, even when it risks a ceasefire, stems from foundational principles in Israeli society and Jewish tradition. A religious and cultural law, Kevod HaMet, honor for the dead, sanctity of the body. In Jewish tradition, the human body is considered sacred. Zelem Elokim, the image of God. There is an absolute imperative to treat the deceased with the utmost respect, Kevod HaMet, and to ensure they receive a proper Jewish burial. The mitzvah of burial. Burying the dead is a central religious commandment, mitzvah. A person cannot be considered properly at rest until their body, and all of its parts, is placed in the earth. To leave a body unburied or in enemy hands is seen as a profound dishonor and a source of perpetual anguish for the family. Closure and mourning. The return of the remains, even if tragic, provides a final, necessary point of closure for the families. Without a body, a grave, or definitive confirmation, the families are in a state of unresolved mourning. A guna status for missing soldiers, for example, a psychological limbo that can last for generations. B. The unwritten covenant with the soldier, citizen. No one left behind. Israel maintains a deeply rooted military and social principle known as not leaving anyone behind. This principle extends to retrieving the bodies of fallen soldiers and civilians, regardless of the operational cost. The state views this as its absolute moral and military contract with every citizen, and failure to uphold it is seen as a massive institutional and moral failure. Preventing exploitation. Leaving bodies in the hands of an enemy is viewed as allowing them to be weaponized for psychological warfare, as the enemy can continue to manipulate the families and the state. Recovering the bodies prevents the enemy from holding on to this last form of leverage. 2. The impact on the ceasefire and the dilemma. You are correct that prioritizing the dead over the continued peace for the living creates a devastating moral dilemma and threatens the ceasefire. A. Why it threatens the ceasefire. A condition of the deal. The return of the deceased hostages was written into the ceasefire or prisoner exchange agreements. For the Israeli government, Hamas's failure or inability to deliver on this condition is viewed as a breach of the deal's integrity, giving them a political justification to halt further stages or resume military action. Political pressure. The families of the deceased are a powerful political force in Israel. The government, already facing deep public scrutiny over the events of the initial attack, is under immense domestic pressure to achieve the complete return of all hostages, dead or alive. B. The practical reality of the rubble. Hamas's claim. Hamas and international organizations like the Red Cross have stated that the extensive destruction in Gaza is the main obstacle. They claim that some bodies are simply buried under massive amounts of rubble in areas damaged by Israeli strikes, and they require heavy equipment and time to locate and retrieve them. Cooperation is the challenge. The situation calls exactly for the cooperation and goodwill you suggest. Israel allowing specialized search and rescue teams, perhaps international, as Turkey has offered, and equipment into Gaza to locate the remains, while Hamas focuses solely on recovery efforts without security interference. However, the deep mistrust prevents this simple solution, with Israel suspecting a deliberate delay and Hamas blaming the lack of allowed equipment. In short, the conflict over the dead is not about expecting them to rise, but about fulfilling a deeply rooted moral and religious obligation to the deceased and their families, which is then amplified into a political necessity for the Israeli government, even at the cost of a fragile peace.